Welcome back to Pieces of Miss Minnie. This is part two of my interview with the brilliant Dr. Cynthia Sutherland. And in part one, we talked about um, a lot of the tragedy and the trauma that had happened, does happen to a lot of children throughout this country and around the world. And now we're picking up basically when Cynthia is in her early 20s, give or take. And so I'm going to let her pick up where we left off was college. You ended up finishing your undergrad, right?
Yeah, after dropping out, let's see, I graduated in 97. I didn't finish my undergrad until 2004. A lot of things happened in that 7 years, right? And so one of the things I tell students is that life still lifes, you know, parents pass away, accidents happen, things happen, but you always want to keep that goal in the front of your mind, right? And so when I made the decision that I wanted a better life for me and my son, I joined the Army. And joining the Army in 2000, the year before 9/11,
Right, right,
it
right.
was whoever knew, like,
Yeah.
it was the National Guard. Who would ever known we would have been deployed? And
Well, a lot
so,
of people knew, just not you.
yeah, just not me.
Yeah.
True, true, true,
just
true,
just
true,
not
true.
your
And
peers. I'm sure people
yeah,
knew.
exactly. Yeah, not in my community.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I joined the army. Did one deployment to Baghdad in '03, and in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and that in itself was a whole journey. And navigating and being away from my son as a single mom,
Who
I
was he
left my
with?
son with he was with my mom and my stepdad. Yep, he was with my mom and my stepdad. And my primary focus at that time was how do I get home to him? And if I don't, what would life be like for him if something happened to
Oh
me? And
my
so
God.
yeah, that was the primary focus. And how do I get back home? And so I end up coming back home. And when I knew I was coming back home, I said, okay, I'm done with waiting on my life and being in the military, because even when 9/11 happened in September '01, we didn't get deployed until '03. And so they kept telling us, you're going to get deployed, you're going to get deployed. And so I'm thinking, okay, if I'm getting deployed, there's no reason for me to continue school. Let me drop out. So I dropped out again because they said, we're going to be leaving soon. Okay, that was '01, '02. I dropped out, and we did not get deployed until '03. And so right when I said, oh, we're not going anywhere, as soon as I said we're not going anywhere, move back out, go back, I re-enrolled into school, that's when they said, oh yeah, you're being deployed. I was like, oh. So I had
Yeah.
to drop out again. And in this time, it was okay, let me go do this thing, fight this war, come back home and finish school. By all means, I'm going to be done with school.
Yeah.
And so, came home, re enrolled in school,
So wait,
pledged
how old
those.
were you just so our viewers can get a
Oh,
better picture?
this was '03. So I want to say 26.
Oof, you're
26.
still so young and like a young mom. I know you'd already toughened up a lot and been through a
Is this
lot, but that
27? Yep.
must have been
Oh
crazy.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the first
Yeah.
time you traveled internationally and like
Yes, it was. That was my first time. Like, I never left my state, my hood, any of that until I joined the military.
oh wow.
Yes, so that was my first exposure to international travel. It was my first exposure to an airplane, and actually like traveling the way I was traveling was being in the military. And so I remember when we were in Baghdad, they said, "Hey, let's do R&R and go to Euro Disney." I was like, "Absolutely not. I do not want to go to Euro Disney and not have my son with
Yeah.
me. If I'm going to Disney, I'm taking him with me." And so R&R for me was a big bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, because that was the only thing that they had at the Baghdad airport at that time, and in Kuwait. And so we stood in line. I kid you not, we stood in line for 4 hours for a bucket of chicken. And Burger King, when they finally bought Burger King to the Baghdad airport, we were in line for about 6 hours just to get a chicken sandwich and some Whoppers.
Was it that
Yes.
good?
It that was the only other food we had that was not military food, Padme.
And the military food was that bad?
It's not that it was that bad, it's just all we had to eat. So
Over and over again.
when you bring in Burger King and Kentucky, oh my God, we went crazy. People were standing in line for hours
Yeah, clearly,
to get Burger
evidently.
King. Yes, 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 yes. And so, but yeah, that was my first exposure to international travel. Did my thing. We lost 3 soldiers during that time. I was injured. It was a lot of fighting, a lot of stuff that happened during that war. And so when I came home, it was hit the ground running, finish school.
Yeah.
And so I hit the ground running, finished, pledged my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, incorporated, and then graduated in the fall of '04. And in that journey, one of the things that I learned was that I could not get a job in the South, South Carolina, an IT job that would pay me my worth
Yeah.
because they wanted to pay me $28,000 a year for a bachelor's degree in information systems management. Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. And I had military networking experience, military experience. I stood up the internet cafe off of a whim just so soldiers could have internet and call back
Wow.
home. Like those were the things like, and then you want to pay me that amount of money?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So I moved to DC to leverage my military experience. Moved here in '04, and I've been here in the DC area since then.
So, and it's been quite the career. So we're going to keep moving forward. So then after
Yeah.
that,
Hmm.
where did you go and what did you do?
So I ended up coming here and started working as a federal defense contractor. Now, leaving out of the South, growing up in the South, you're told to work in a company, in a manufacturing company, 20, 25 years, get that pension and retire and all these things. Yeah, that's not how it works in the DC area. In
Yeah.
the DC
Yeah. Yeah.
area, it's government and contractor based. And so when I learned what was the work culture here of, getting a contract and staying on the contract, it was getting on the contracts, treating my customers at that time, regardless of the company that I worked for, it was treating my customers as if, they were my last customer, my best customer, and making sure that they were better for me have been there. And so that brand that I kept um, with my customers, every time they had a new contracting company, they would tell the contracting company, keep her,
Oh, wow.
keep her. And
That's
so
so
I
lucky.
remember one time we had one contract where we were converting the Pentagon over to public key encryption. And they told us the contracting company that won, the contracting company that lost, called and put in a protest, and they told us to walk off the job site and just leave our customers in the Pentagon stranded. And it was a protest after protest after protest. And every company that came in, they were told to keep me. So within a 1 month time period, Pat Meany, I every company that came, I increased my salary by
Nice.
$15,000,
Nice.
and I end up increasing my salary by like $45,000
Nice.
in 1 month.
Well, whatever. They had it coming. You were underpaid.
I mean,
You were
exactly,
underpaid. I mean, you were holding it up.
exactly,
So if they wanted to keep you, there's a cost to that. That's
exactly.
how it works.
Exactly, Pat Meany. And so I served in the as a defense contractor for 8 years.
Uh-huh.
And the last 2 years as a defense contractor, I started my own cybersecurity consulting firm where I consulted on what we call industrial control systems. That's the technology that runs HVAC and hot water and boilers and everything, elevators, escalators. That's what runs that for a building. And so my job was to come in and secure those devices from any cyber attacks. And so working with them and working with the law enforcement for the Pentagon, so working with them to secure all of those different networks. So it was an enlightening experience, but that brand also created a reputation for myself. So
Good.
then I had this. I wanted to get my master's, and so I decided that okay, because someone said you should really go into information assurance. Information assurance is the term for before it became cybersecurity.
Oh,
It
I
was
didn't know that.
information assurance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so they was like, oh, you should really, get certified in that. It's like, well, what's the certification? It's like, oh, you should get the Security Plus. So it's like, okay, let me research this certification. And I saw that it was the entry level certification. I was like, entry level?
Yeah.
No, no, no. I
Yeah.
want to know what's the
Yeah.
highest.
Yeah.
And
Obviously.
so, huh?
Yeah. No, for
It's,
sure.
I said I want to see the highest, and so I saw the highest at the time was the CISSP, and at that time it was only like 34,000 certified people in the world, right, for this certification, and it was 6 hours, 250 questions, 10 different domains, everything from understanding HVAC to computer security. And so it was that long. It was like they said it's a 10 mile. It's a mile wide and an inch deep.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I looked at it and said, oh, I'm good in most of this, but I'm struggling in cryptography. Let me find a program that I can learn. So I found a master's degree that was mirrored off of the certification.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I said, oh, well, I'll just go to school, get my master's, graduate, and then take the certification.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I
And now you
did.
have a
I went,
master's and you're in a better
they got my
position.
master's.
Yeah, exactly.
E- Exactly. And so when you pass that certification back in '07, you could demand a salary of 105K or more off the rip. And so when I went to my hiring manager, my boss, and I said, hey, I want a raise after I graduated with my master's, I said, I'd like to get a raise. And he was like, well, I don't know how to pay you for a master's. Huh?
I mean, that's the point where you have to obviously jump. It's like they'll never pay you what you're worth in the same place that knew you before. You almost have to reintroduce yourself to someone new because otherwise
Yes.
it's like our parents who still see us as children.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And so graduated with my master's and then got my certification. And so it was going through and doing that. And when I did that, it was like, okay, let's go kill it and do my business. And so had my business running. And then this interesting thing happened. Um, I fell in love.
I mean, like, I'm so for it too. I'm like such a I'm like secretly a hopeless romantic, but like, but like no one really knows that, or now they do. But like, no, but like you deserved it. Like after all that bullshit, you deserved it.
Yes, yes. So I met my now husband. He was working as the bouncer for VIP at a nightclub that my friends decided to have my birthday party at.
Okay, all right.
So he was working, and I was like, they had gotten there before me. So they had my bracelet upstairs, and I couldn't get in. So I had to be nice to the bouncer
Oh, right.
to get in
To your own birthday party.
to my own birthday party. And I said, I swear, I said, excuse me, sir. I'm here for my birthday party. My friends have my bracelet. I promise you I'm not trying to sneak and get in.
Yeah.
I just want to go get my bracelet. I promise I'll bring it back and
Yeah.
show it to you. And so he looked me up and down from head to toe and said, since you cute, I guess I'll let you go get it.
I mean, you'd be surprised how much you can get away with when you're cute. Like, don't underestimate the power of cute.
Cuteness, right? And so I went up and got the bracelet and I showed it to him. And so we were just kind of doing our thing throughout the night, me and my friends. And so he was watching me and whatnot. And as the night was ending, he asked me for my phone. And so I gave him my phone, and he programmed in my phone your future husband. I was like, whatever.
Oh, wow.
Pat Meany, whatever. That's what I was like, whatever. Right.
No,
And
that's why
so I
people
was,
like should not underestimate the power of words or writing. Like I keep saying it, words are spells.
yes, yes, the power of those words. And so I was dating someone, talking to someone that lived in Detroit at the time. And he and I just so happened just stopped talking then in the middle of that week. And I was like, didn't I just get a guy's number last weekend?
Yeah.
And so I called him up, and we started talking, and he was into IT.
Okay.
And so we start talking about technology, and it's just, and since then it's been 17, what's, 17 years now. We've been talking.
And then some, but yes.
Yeah, it's 17 years now. So yeah, we dated for a year. Then he proposed on my birthday on a cruise. And then we got married that following spring after the engagement. And then my daughter came that following fall. And so, yeah, it was like bop, bop,
Wow.
bop. And so, interesting though that I got accepted. I applied to George Mason for my doctoral program. And he didn't know that I would wanted to go to get my doctorate, because it was something that I really didn't really talk to a lot of people, because everybody was like, you always in school, you always in school. And so,
When did you decide you wanted to do a doctorate? Was this during your master's? Was it after?
no, it was afterwards. The doctorate came in 2010, when I knew that I wanted to get a doctor. I just didn't know in what.
Hmm.
And I started having a passion for digital forensics and incident response. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go to Mason, because there really wasn't a lot of doctoral programs in cyber around at the time.
Yeah.
And so he proposed to me, and then 10 days, a week and a half later, the letter came from Mason that I got accepted into their doctoral program. And so that started my doctoral program in 2010. But then, here I am, doctoral program, planning a wedding.
Yeah.
So I
Two
said,
kids.
I
Oh, you
know
didn't have
one
the,
at the
yeah, you
time.
didn't have,
Yeah,
right.
one
You
at the
didn't have her
time.
yet.
I didn't even, they actually told me that we couldn't have children. We couldn't have any more. I couldn't have any more kids. So yeah, it was a condition called endometriosis.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
so
That's
yeah,
so
so they told
painful.
me, yeah, man, who you telling? And I, whew, I tell you, boy, sometimes being a woman, man, ooh, ooh, all the challenges. And
I know.
so,
Now I'm like going through perimenopause. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, does it ever? I'm like, give me a break. Like HRT, like night sweats, like what are you doing? Like, have we not suffered enough? Like, what are you like? I don't understand. Who's trying to prove a point? Yes, we're the stronger of the two sexes, obviously. Like,
it's like they could not go through half
they
the
could
things that
never.
we've
They
been
could
through
never.
ever. And so, yeah, so when they told me we couldn't have kids, we're like, okay. And so I said, I'm gonna take a semester off, do the wedding, do the honeymoon, and then go back. Yeah, that we got married on Saturday. That Wednesday, he went to go get my favorite ribs from Famous
This is
Days.
another throw up story.
Exactly. And so when I smelled them, Pat Meaty, and I vomited, I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant.
Oh my
He was like,
God.
how do you know? I said, because this is exactly what happened with the first one.
Yeah.
And so he ran out because he was super excited. He went and got like 6 pregnancy tests and made me pee on all the
God.
sticks.
Does
He's
he
like,
have them framed? What the hell? Like, seriously. Like, relax.
I was like, seriously?
Like, two is
Seriously?
enough. Frankly, one is adequate, especially if it comes up pregnant. Like,
Yes, like,
if it
dude,
comes
like,
up
if it's
negative, two. But if it comes up positive, one's enough.
it's like seriously. So it, yeah, it was. So he was super excited. about it, and I said, okay, well, I'll just push school off for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that, I'm going to enjoy the pregnancy. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to just be, glowing with the hair because it gives you the best hair and the, best skin and all these awesome things. Yeah, no, that did
None of
not
it.
happen to me.
Oh,
I had every single pregnancy symptom known to man, from the face and back acne to the thick hair, yes, but
not
the
there.
spreading
Yeah.
of everything, everything spread it. I was like, oh my God. And then she decided that she wants to come at 20 weeks.
Oh.
She tried to make a master escape at my 20-week checkup.
I was
So
actually late. Like I was like 3 weeks late, and I'm like, yeah, that checks out. I'm like, that makes sense. And I was still small. I was like 5.5 pounds. I hung out. Like, I just chilled.
So she was 5.5 pounds and she was 4 weeks, she was a month early. But because she hit birth weight,
Yeah.
she was
Then
okay.
yeah.
And so, but yeah, she tried to make a master escape at 20 weeks. They put me on bed rest for 4 months, Padmini.
Oh wow.
Can you imagine being in the bed with someone that jumps on your pelvic bone
Oh my
and your
god.
bladder for 4 months? So yes, that was her. So she finally came, and she
Jesus.
she made a couple of mad dashes, so they had to sew her up to keep her in there. Um, yeah, she made a couple. She tried. So now she's
Wow.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Still causing
yeah,
trouble. So then,
still
okay,
causing trouble.
so then, like those 4 months and everything. So then you had pushed off your PhD, and then what happened? You went back after
Yes.
that.
So yes, so after that, one of the lessons that I learned being in the military is that when those first couple of years of your kid is gone, you're not getting them back. And so I decided to shut down my business and reached out to my government clients, and that's how I ended up becoming a government employee and taking over the security operations branch for the Office of the Secretary of Defense. I wanted to take that step back and have a slower pace in life to be there for her and
It
help
doesn't
her,
sound
and just
slower, but okay.
it was
All right,
slower.
I'll trust you. Like,
It was slower for my pace,
all
baby.
right, sure.
And so, but yeah, it was being there for her, doing that, and just enjoying the first year of motherhood. And so I said, well, when she goes into daycare, then I'll go back to school. And so that's how I end up going back to school, to finish up after giving myself a break and spending time and being there for her. And so when she started getting more independence, it was okay, let me go do this. And so I had my teenage son, my husband, my newborn daughter, and my mother in law. And so it was a multi-dimensional, generational household. Oh, and then I mentioned my husband and my mother-in-law are Jamaican. And so
No, you didn't mention that. And living in South Florida, I I am well versed.
yes. And so
Right.
multicultural household.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was a
yeah,
lot of challenges, especially with the kid, different parenting styles, different culture, different food types. It was,
yeah.
woo, a
Yeah, yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A
And you're
lot. And
still, and you don't
so
have your family either. So it's like,
exactly.
and you're just keeping your head above water. Were you full time or part time? Were you working and doing your PhD? How did that
I
work?
was.
Were
I
you a
was.
TA or you were working still like government?
I was still working at the government,
Yeah,
working in the government. And then everybody asked me, how the hell
yeah.
did you get your doctorate and still working at the joint staff with all of your responsibilities? It was a struggle. It was my husband taking over a lot of responsibilities. My mother-in-law taking on some responsibilities so that I can get to that point where I could graduate. And so that having that community was huge.
And you were what, in your 30s, mid 30s here?
Yep, yep. It was late 30s because I graduated right before I turned 40. I celebrated after I graduated because I got the acceptance letter in 2010. I didn't graduate till 2018.
Oh, wow. But no, I mean, that's fair. Even full time, it still would have been. But I get it.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
like it was a longer journey. Like all of,
Yes.
all of them. And I
Yes.
don't envy that. So, okay. So now you're a doctor. You're in your 30s. Is this when you did the military work that we had talked about earlier? Was this that big
Yes.
stretch?
No, this was also in that time. Yeah, I had become so while I was a doctoral student, I became the Chief Information Security Officer for the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Senior Cyber Policy Advisor and Analyst and Developer for the Joint Staff, as well as the U.S. Representative and Global Chair to NATO, leading those 23 countries through all those different cyber initiatives. And so, yes, this was at the same time that I was in school and a mom and a wife.
And
Yes.
how were you received? There's a lot because really we're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about the military now. And
Yes.
so that is such an extreme circumstance, even if you had been corporate, but you were government, not military anymore, but government. How were you received there? And a black woman, all the obvious, like, I know what it's
Yeah.
like to stick out, and so do you.
Yes. So the first 1 year, the first year and a half, it was building my brand, setting the stake on who I am as a expert and as a woman. And so the way the joint staff works is it's called joint staff because there are soldiers from every military branch that works in this organization.
You
It's
know,
called the joint staff.
I think and this is so much like we're gonna now let's get into it because I think if you can also, when I was talking to you, I didn't understand like the structure of the military. Like you think it's like
Sure.
Army, Navy, Air Force, or whatever, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize like no, that's just human resources, and it's actually structured like entirely. Like, I was like,
I never looked at it like that, Pat
yeah,
Meany.
but I'm an organizational psychologist, so I'm just like, and it's like this is what fascinated me, and I was like, literally, war, like, has dictated and continued to dictate this entire country's like reason to exist. It seems, and like, actually, those of us who are just like mere civilians, like, we don't know anything. We call it the military. I don't know what that actually means. The military industrial
Yes.
complex, private, public. I don't know what we're paying for. I know it's a lot. There are a lot of so so if you can go into it cuz this is the part
Sure.
that I think like for all we talk about, for all that's in the news, for all the politicians and everything else and it's all like all the wars we keep starting and like going deeper into, people don't actually know what the military is or how it's organized or structured or ran. And so, like, please, if you can, like, grace us with
Sure.
your experience and
Sure.
intellect, this would be an
Sure.
amazing tutorial.
Yes. So the way the Department of War slash Defense is structured
War.
is that you have the
Department of War.
military.
So it's so 1984. I'm like, it's almost funny. Did you get ideas from that book? Like George Orwell would be so proud.
I've never read the book.
Girl.
Mm-mm,
All right.
mm-mm. Nope, nope.
1984.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I will look at that.
It,
And so the way the DoD is structured, it's you have so DoD is just like Department of State, Department of whatever. They're looked at. You can look at it from a corporate. Let's look at it from a corporate structure.
okay.
And so you have the Secretary of Defense is literally the CEO of the Secretary of any cabinet is literally the CEO of that organization. Their job is to run and ensure the mission of that organization. That's what the Secretary of Defense does. Okay. Now, the Secretary of Defense, as a CEO, they don't have military, most of them don't have military background.
It seems relevant.
So here's where the military background comes into play. So you have the military is actually Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, right? So you have the services, right? So each service, their job is to man, train, and equip the soldier themselves. So me being in the Army, I go in, they make sure that I'm trained properly, make sure I got my equipment, make sure I know I can perform as a warfighter. So the services job is to, as you said, HR. They are the staff. That's their job, and so there is the senior military officer for every single branch. There's the chiefs of staff. And so every single military service has their senior most advisor for that branch, who then serves as the chiefs of staff. Collectively, they make up the joint chiefs of staff. But there's one person who is the senior military advisor that is the chairman of the joint staff. And his job is to serve as the senior military advisor to the Secretary of Defense and the president. That's his job.
And how is it structured also geographically? So that was
Gotcha.
that was super interesting
Yes.
as well.
So the services jobs to man, train, and equip the warfighter. The warfighters are our combatant commands. Our combatant commands, and I can't remember, I think we're at like 10 or 11 or something now, but we have the geographical combatant commands and the functional combatant commands. And so geographical are those that have their area of responsibility based on their continent, jurisdiction, physical location, and area of responsibility. For example, AFRICOM, that's the combatant command. That's their area is Africa. EUCOM, the Europe. You have NorthCom, North America, SouthCom, South America, PACOM, Pacific area and Hawaiian Islands, things like that. And then you have your functional cyber commands like Cyber Command. Sorry, functional combatant commands like Cyber Command, Transportation Command. You have so it's Transcom, Cybercom. You got Spacecom, Space Force, and any other ones because I know that they're getting ready to create some others. I don't,
What's
again, don't know.
the
Been out of that space for a minute, but the combatant commands are the warfighter, and so working in the joint staff, our role was to support them and make sure that they had what they needed to do what they needed to do in any military effort.
That's a crazy org design. I mean, it exists like even in massive like
Oh yeah,
multinationals. I've seen it. I get it. But it's did one
yeah.
trump the other for want of a better word?
Um, It depended on the need. Like the war fighter, the combatant commands, they are the war fighters. So it's how do we best support them? But every military branch also had their own needs, right? And
Mhm.
so it was always it's a balancing act between what is going on, what is the national defense strategy, national security strategy, whatever it is that the president, the secretary of defense comes up with, and the chairman comes up with. They're the three individuals. They have their goals and what they're trying to do, and then our jobs is to figure out how do we execute.
I'm even wondering, like, even when they say like military spending, right? And
Yes.
military spending has gone up. Like, how is that distributed, allocated? Does that include all the defense contractors? What does that mean? Because we never
So
see
yes,
inside that.
yes, yes, and yes. So you can find that it's public knowledge. If you go online and look for the National Defense Authorization Act, it's released every year. You can see where all the money is going. NDAA. It's because it's submitted to the
We
submitted for the
really see
budget.
where the money's going. I mean, at a certain, like, I'm sure there's some distribution within that that is not as
Yes,
transparent as we like
yes,
to hope.
yes, and
Those
yes,
are like
all
top
that.
lines.
Yes, exactly, Pat. Meaning the top lines, and so I'll give you an example. One year, we needed support for continuous monitoring from a cybersecurity perspective. And we had to draft up language to give to our 3 star to go and fight for that funding. And that year, we just knew we were going to get this money because we knew it was something we needed. So they go to the Hill and they fight for the money, and then we don't get the money because they wanted to take the money from that to put on building a border wall in Mexico.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was this back then. And
The
so
American Chinese wall, like the Great Wall of China. Like we have a little fence.
yeah, it's when you look at the spending, it's very complex, but yeah, you see the high lines inside of NDAA language. That's what you see.
Okay.
And so there are things that, like, people always say, "Oh, there are some things that the American public should know about," and I'm like, absolutely not. Some of the things that the American
You're
people
like, they're
knew,
dumb enough.
no, no, like, no, you there are some things you don't want to know. Like, let's be clear, like, and it's for the best interest. And so I talk about how, everything that I'm saying is public knowledge, but there are things that don't need to be talked about.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you an example. When I was in Baghdad, we when we got there, we got to Kuwait, we went to Baghdad. We hadn't talked to our family in like 3 months, and we were making military moves and doing all these things.
So it
And
was
so
like
we
what, like
found,
radio silence? You weren't allowed to like call or email or anything?
oh no, we just didn't have the capability. We were the cell phone and communications. Like, our our job was to go and stand it up. And so
Right.
once we got there and stood up the satellite, the towers and everything, stood up the infrastructure so that we could actually call home,
Yeah.
um, our family was like, "Oh, well, we heard you are in this location and this location." I'm like, "How is it that you know where we are?" "Oh, well, CNN said."
Yeah,
I'm
those were
like,
early days when they were like embedded. And then, but yeah, I remember a few incidents happened, but yeah, those were early
and I'm
days
like,
when they were embedded
"Yeah."
with
So
the
when they say
troops.
loose lips sink ships, it's like, "Yep, they sure do.
Yeah,
They
yeah. No,
sure
that's
do." And
like obviously like there's a certain amount of like proprietary information and silence. I
yes,
think
yes.
sometimes too much, but like that's a whole other political conversation for
Yes, and then you also asked about the defense industrial base.
yeah.
Defense industrial base are all of the contracting companies that support the military services and the combatant commands, hands down.
Are they so like I also just like I'm trying to grasp size of all of it, size of it in terms of money, size of it in terms of companies, size of it in terms of people.
You're not ever going to see that.
So
You're
is
not ever.
the defense, what are we calling it now? That not it's not the military industrial complex, it's the defense industrial
It's defense.
complex?
It's always been the DIB, the
Uh,
defense industrial base.
oh, is how much is that bigger or smaller than the military? I mean, I guess they're like so many like
Well, think
secondary,
about it.
tertiary.
Yeah, because think about it. The military's job is to execute the military mission. The defense industrial base has the specialties and expertise that go into building and supporting them. The government military, we don't build personally. Like, I'm not out here building a bullet, right?
Yeah,
You need
no, of
someone,
course
another
not.
company,
So
right?
all the
I'm not out here,
manufacturing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All that manufacturing. I'm not out here building military bases or the materials to build
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
gotta call a construction company that comes in and do that, right? And so it's all the way down the defense industrial base and goes all the way to the companies that make naval ships, down to the construction companies that build the buildings.
Right. So a large part of the economy of this country and a lot of other countries too, I imagine.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
How
Yep. Yep.
how
Yep.
many people are in the military between all those different.
I will say that our people make up soldiers, civilians, and contractors. Period. Soldiers, civilians, and contractors. That's the military. It's not just the soldiers. I was a
Oh,
soldier
okay.
and I was a contractor and I was a civilian.
So what does civilian mean? in those
Civilian
terms?
means that I work for the army, but I'm not a soldier.
What were you doing? So that's when you were more like in the information security cyber side?
Yes. So, for example, when I used to work at the Army Research Lab, my job was to manage the security of the desktops, the computers for the scientists that were developing things, right? And then you have people like entomologists, right? You can be a entomologist and be a civilian in the Army, where your job is to study bugs for the Army, right? Um, you could be a nuclear physicist for the army. You're a civilian in the military, but you're not a soldier. So that's they actually have those functions.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And probably like the doctors and the medical.
Yep, doctors. Yep, you have doctors that are just regular civilians. They're
Yeah.
not. They've never been to boot camp. They don't fight wars. Their job is to support from abroad.
Yeah. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
I will, working as a civilian in DOD was, I would say, working in the best job I've ever had was working at the Joint Staff, because I worked directly with the war fighters, and I understood and knew exactly where the impact was when I did things. There are some people that don't see the direct impact.
Right.
And so when you have a mission that you're working to support a mission that you love, because I'm again soldier at heart,
Yeah.
I love working in that job. And so if I were to ever go back into the government, that would be the job that I would go to.
Wow. No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really
yeah,
great to know. I know
yeah.
you had a substantial career even after that with FEMA and with Amazon, and I think perhaps there might be a part three at some point to also talk about what you're doing now with the elderly and cyber. But um, I think this is where we'll close up part two because otherwise we could definitely go for another hour, and I will get into trouble, and so will you. Um, so I think there I can't thank you enough for your bravery. I don't know if I
Thank
would
you.
have had the guts to confront all of that, publish, talk about it with, you know, distance and clarity and, and not feel that pain. I think that has been something while I've been on my own journey, and really that's come to a conclusion as well. But, um, it chases you down until you can't kick it down the road forever. It will always, and the longer you wait, the consequences are bigger because you become more ingrained in that hurt, insecure victim with the anger, with the betrayal, with the shame. And that can,
Hmm.
really take a person, even if they look successful on the outside, that can take a person down a lot of really, really dark roads and you don't realize till it's too late. Or,
Yes.
and that's a very bad case. But even if you just end up settling along the way and never really realizing your full potential because you're like, this is better than that, but you're unhealed. So you're basically just sort of always running a marathon with a broken leg, but you think
Yes.
it's normal, and it's not,
Yep.
and it's not. So I can't thank you enough for.
Oh yeah. That part, Padmini, I think is the biggest part about this whole conversation, is identifying that yeah, we all have had those broken legs, but they can be healed.
Yeah, no, I hope, and in terms of role model, I think, you mentioned that even early on, and you having them and not having them and the difference that made. And I think we all think we're only role models if we're famous, and
Mm-mm.
that's not the truth. And we think like
Mm-mm.
we're only
Mm-mm.
significant if we're famous, but like look at how many just kind people along the way, knowingly or unknowingly,
Yeah.
really, really watched out for you. And like the massive consequences that had long run that gave you the strength and the resilience to keep going and believing in yourself. Because had any of them really said, you're not smart enough, you're not going to make it, you're a
Oh,
teenage mom.
I had them. I had them too. I did have teachers that told me
Oh, I'm
that,
sorry.
oh, you're not gonna make it. Oh, take this AP calculus exam just to see what a real college test feels like. Yeah, I had
That's
those.
crazy
I
that
had
there are
those.
teachers like that.
There are teachers like that.
That's madness. But like also just underestimating the role of teachers. I actually had generally like, I had really supportive teachers. I think,
Hmm.
but yeah, I remember distinctly like my second grade teacher, Mrs. Sunberg, she used to call me the debutante, and I didn't know what that meant, but I was just super social. And I was at a parochial, I was at a Catholic school in Phoenix during this time. And I remember I went home and I talked to my mom and I was crying and I was like, she said I was a debutante, but like I had no idea what that. I was still very British. I wasn't even American. I was like, I don't know what this is. Like I had just lost my British accent like 6 months ago, and but she was like hilarious. And actually, I had a lot of really kind teachers who I think saw me better than a lot of the students saw me. I think the teachers saw my potential and they knew I was kind of odd and weird and, never colored in the lines and everything I made was like multicolored and rainbowed. And, I never drew the grass green or the sky blue like that. I was like, it's already green and blue. That sounds boring. Like everything I did was multicolored. It was like technicolored. But I think a lot of those teachers like had a lot of like patience and probably found a certain amount of amusement watching me bumble through. But yeah, teachers in America and teachers globally, but teachers are super important. I think that
Oh
perhaps
yes,
might
I
be
love them.
I'm going to put a pin in that. That might be another episode. So um with that, thank you, my incredible, so impressive, formidable friend. You have really been a blessing. That
Thank
under
you.
the weirdest circumstances, our friendship blossomed, and
I know, right?
that that's for offline.
Whew. But I'm glad. Like I said, there was it was meant to be.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, for sure. So, with that, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you so much, Dr. Cynthia Sutherland, for leaving it all on the field. I can't. It's so impressive. You were so impressive. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining us. Um, that's it for part 2. Maybe there'll be a part 3. Who knows? Leave your questions, comments. Tell me what you'd like to hear more about, and I'll see what we can do. Okay, until next time, thank you so much. Take care.